Hello, this is Yarrow, and welcome to another micro episode of the Yarrow podcast. Although it might end up being a longer one, I don't know. Thank you so much for listening today. So, I want to start with this episode with a story from last week. So, last week I was on YouTube and I was listening to music, and like you may have experienced, YouTube will create these automatic generated playlists where it includes songs that you've listened to before and often will insert new things for you to discover. Actually, I'm a big fan of that, and I consume most of my music on YouTube. I'm not a Spotify person. So I'm listening to one of the playlists, and this new song pops up, and it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I listen to a lot of electronic music since I was a teenager, and it's got this amazing vocalist that I found, like a female vocalist, really powerful. The track overall was just great. So I noticed though that the video for the track is like this woman's face. It's not many transitions. She's singing, but you can tell it's not perfectly in sync, and it's AI. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's an AI generated video for a piece of music, not uncommon right now. Then I go and read the comments in the description, and it turns out the entire track is AI. And when I say that, not just like the sounds, but the voice itself is AI. Now, I listened to the song a few times and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. But there's this feeling I'm having that's this weird sort of, I don't know how to describe it, like a um, disengagement or a little unsettled feeling. I'm enjoying the music, but I can't connect the voice to a human, which is the weird thing about it. Like, I'm loving this voice, but I can't go, oh, it's this person. And I really, I'm just amazed by them. And then I kind of had to process it. So I listened to the song a few more times. I read more of the comments, and I start to contemplate, okay, so this is an 100% AI produced track, but there's a human being who's guided the AI to make it. Now, electronic music has been produced through software for long decades now. So that's not AI specifically, but it is electronic. So it's a human, there's not an instrument. The instrument is the software. Now, the voice part of that is usually a human, but in this case, the voice is produced by AI. I don't know if this was like super AI prompting produced. So it's literally a person there writing text to create a song. If that was, and they produced the whole song just with text prompts, that in itself is amazing. And they're an artist. It's a different form of artwork, but they're an artist. More likely, they have a voice that's probably produced from one of the voice language models out there, and they have to tweak it. Maybe that's with text prompting, and maybe they're overlaying that with some sort of music software that they produce the actual track with. I don't know. Long story short, I don't know, but I do know that that voice was not attached to a human. So I started to think about that, and I came to this place where, well, I have to appreciate the artist who created the music and just stop there. Great work. Love this track. Thank you, DJ. And in this case, the DJ is the entire track, where normally the voice would actually be someone, and then the DJ would be the music behind the voice. But in this case, it's all in one. So this is an experience that we're all having right now. We're starting to consume this AI content, and we're having a weird feeling because it's crossing the uncanny valley. What that means is we're initially, at least in this case for me, when I heard the song, I thought that was a human. There was no sense of it's AI. The video gave it away, which then led me to investigate further. But of course, same thing is happening with video. It's getting harder and harder to tell what's AI and what's real. The uncanny valley is being crossed there, and it's certainly being crossed with other formats of media, whether it's written text or graphics as well. So, as you've experienced, no doubt, there's a lot of AI content. I just read an article that's saying 20% of social media content now is AI generated. Why is this important? Well, as a business owner, especially as a content marketer, we operate in a very busy space. It's been busy since the internet became a thing, in the late 1990s, and it's only become increasingly busy. But we're going through this transformation phase where the barrier to producing high quality content is dropping dramatically. Now, before this, you had to still have some sort of time frame using a skill to create a video, often with multiple people involved, filming, editing, scripts, and so on. Same with a graphic designer or a writer. There's just time that would have required to sit there and do something, often backed up by some experience or skill set. With AI, you can use words to tell the AI to do something, and it produces quality that's, let's not say it's like, the best in the world, but it's very good. I experienced that with that piece of music. It was very good. I would have listened to it on a live set at a festival, or being played by a DJ at a club, no problem. So as this continues and AI becomes better and better, because the barrier to producing high quality content is going to drop, there's going to be an absolute parabolic increase in the amount of high quality content going out there onto the internet. This is not new in the sense that things have always been busy, but we haven't been through a transition where where the barrier has been dropped so low. Now this matters because, and let me clarify something. If a piece of content is valuable, it will be consumed and enjoyed. So if it's entertaining, if it's educational, if it's just well crafted, regardless of the source, AI or human or a combination of the two, it will be considered good content and consumed. That's not going to change. Now, there may be some kind of feelings like I went through with that music where you're going, oh, that's a weird feeling. This is a great piece of music and there's a great voice, but I can't attach the voice to a human. That feels weird. And we're going to do the same thing when we watch a video that looks like it's, a movie with real actors, but actually none of those actors are human. We're just watching AI generated humans. It's going to be like, oh, that's a weird feeling. But actually, though everything is good. The scenery is good. The script is good. It's an entertaining piece of content. And no doubt you're experiencing that. And then, of course, there's the obvious AI where it's completely random, shouldn't exist in nature, but it's still compelling to look at. So I'm not going to argue what's considered good content or not. Whatever it is, humans are paying attention to this content, and it's going to continue to be produced and get better and better. In fact, I read a stat that 20% of social media content now is AI, and I'm sure that number is going to keep increasing. So what are we to do as business owners and content marketers if there's so much content, it's only going to increase and it's going to get better and better? How are you going to stand out? How are you going to maintain a connection? So there's a couple of games to play here. One, there's the get on board the AI train, produce a crazy amount of content yourself and hope some of that content hits the right people and, you get some customers. Unfortunately, that's what everyone's going to do. And that's why there's going to be so much more content. I don't think that's a way to necessarily win this game. Now, the other side of the fence is true connection and maintaining some sort of community, some sort of following. That's still possible. I believe that's one of the best strategies to employ, at least in the next few years when all of this sort of plays out. It's not new advice. That's actually been the advice for pretty much since YouTube took off or Facebook took off. In order to stand out in a very busy media space, you need to build a following who listens to you, who watches you, who reads you, whether it's your newsletter, your podcast, your videos. There has to be this loyal following because they want to consume that content because you made it or you're the source. Now, of course, the you in that can become AI, as AI will start to be able to replicate you. So this podcast you're listening to right now could one day be 100% AI driven. That being said, I believe there's a component, even take what I'm saying to you today in this podcast, that is kind of hard to replicate. Now, could you create a podcast with my voice that's still compelling to listen to and still draws upon my experience? Absolutely. I could go do that right now with 11 labs. I could basically use a language model to feed it a bunch of my content, tell it to produce a script, and spit out a podcast in my voice. I don't think it would be as natural as this one is, in the sense that I'm, including things happening in my life right now, this week. It's very in the moment. It's also got more mistakes. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm recording these in a very raw format. I want to make it as raw as possible because I believe in order to maintain that connection, you've got to be as human as you can. And that's actually kind of hard to replicate. You can create content, but you can't create that human, the mistakes and the stories that are happening right now and connecting them all together. Like, for example, I'm doing in this audio today. So I believe, at least as a short-term strategy, while we see what AI does, you still need to continue to build that community, that connection from either your personal brand or some kind of brand, whether it's your product or your service or people in your team. And there needs to be something that's a human to your audience. And then you need to maintain it, because what's going to happen here is humans are going to have even less attention span. And we already have ridiculously terribly small retention spans thanks to TikTok and stories and reels. You should still tap into the greatest resource you have, your voice, your stories, your experience, and use AI to magnify and distribute that content and make it more easy to produce. Like I'm doing that right now with the tool I'm recording this. It basically instantly turns it to a podcast and instantly makes it available for social media. So I'm just going to talk and it's going to be made available. So back in the past, I would have had to have written the social posts. I would have had to have manually created the podcast and all the elements, but now it's 1 minute done after I finish recording. So, in conclusion, to end today's episode, it's really important to maintain your human connection with an audience going forward, because although you may not have millions and millions of followers, you need to have that core group of a few thousand, and that's where your customers are going to come from. And of course, that can grow, but what you need is that regular repeat exposure. They have to basically become, I don't want to call them even fans, but regular consumers of something. They have to be paying attention to something you're doing on a regular basis. So social media can be a good thing for that. Facebook, Instagram, X, wherever it is, you might be able to get both a consistent conversation and perhaps some algorithmic distribution to new people is great. That's what social is great. And then YouTube and podcasts and newsletters and blogs as more longer form connection tools. Like I said, a 5-minute read can be considered long form now, or a 5-minute listen. Hence, I'm doing as I record this, a 14-minute podcast. So if you made it all the way to this point, thank you for listening to my long form content. I'm going to end it there. Keep producing, keep being yourself. Make sure you have those deeper connections, and use AI when it can help you. We'll keep talking. I'm going to keep experimenting, and I'm sure I'm going to have more experiences of crossing the uncanny valley as you are with AI content, and we'll see where it takes us. Okay, that's it for me. My name is Yarrow. I'll talk to you again soon.